Parents, what's the most disgusting thing that your child has done? Potty training. Daughter pooped in her underwear. She thought, hey, this can be a hat now. Wore the soiled underwear as a hat. Had to chase her around the living room. Tried explaining why we don't wear soiled clothes as hats. Happened again a week later. Tried explaining why we don't wear soiled clothes as hats. I wish to hear the rational arguments you used. I walked in on her, sitting on the potty, with a spoonful of her own crap. I was too slow to stop her, and she got the whole thing in her mouth. I scraped out what I could and grabbed her sippy cup to wash her mouth out, and the spout was already covered in crap. It was not her first mouthful. In the middle of my section, just as they pulled her out, she shat all in my open wound. So now I'm laying there getting major surgery and there's poop in my abdominal hole. So gross. He crawled behind a living room chair at my parents' house. I hear a crunch crunch and look around to see what he was eating. A huge dead cockroach. It still grosses me out and he's 20 now. This guy I knew who was working nights was watching his toddler during the day while his wife worked. He fell asleep and the kid finger painted his face, including his lips, with crap. It got inside his nostrils and he said he couldn't get rid of the smell for a week. Toddler eating popcorn, randomly put a piece in her tea. It's not a pocket. I was sitting right there and corrected her. We were on a road trip when I heard my 6-month-old son let rip the longest fart I've ever heard. Except it wasn't a fart, of course. He was wearing flirty pajamas, his diaper failed, and he filled the entire right leg, and part of his left, with poop. I didn't think it was possible for a little human to have that much poop in him. Had to throw the flirty PJs away. My son once pooped so hard while I was holding him, it came up the back of his neck, into his hair. He was only wearing a onishi because it was hot, so poop also spilled out the legs all over my arms. I was wearing a white shirt which had to be thrown away. The poop smelled like KFC. You know how dogs do the I have something in my mouth that I shouldn't thing? Toddlers do too. Had to chase him down and force his mouth open to find a desiccated tree frog corpse. Good times. My 2-year-old nephew was handing me bits of nature on a walk. A leaf, a rock, a stick, an acorn. I wasn't paying much attention until he handed me what turned out to be the partially decayed lower jaw of a rabbit. At least he didn't put it in his mouth. I'll speak for my parents, probably when I put a dead mouse in my mouth. We were eating rice with dinner. Kids thought it would be funny to stick the rice in their belly buttons. Had to use the crevice tool of my vacuum cleaner to get it out. Youngest is scared of the vacuum. Peed her pants and on my foot. Not my child, but my grandchild. He had been diagnosed with pneumonia the night before and was taking powerful antibiotics. I heard him crying in his bed early in the morning. I'm usually up early. Everyone else sleeps in. I went in to check on him. He was wearing his favorite one-piece, zip-up pajamas, the kind with footies. When I turned on the light I saw that he was sitting up in bed with his arms held out to his sides, like Randy, Ralphie's little brother in A Christmas Story. I thought, that's odd. Then the smell hit. Oh god, the smell. Apparently, the antibiotics jacked up the poor kid's digestive system, and he had spent the night depositing everything from his GI tract into his pajama onishi. The reason he was holding his arms out is because the sleeves were full of poo. So were the legs, all the way down to his footsies. I did the only thing I could think of. I picked him, at arm's length, and carried him into the bathroom. I got the shower running with warm water, then rinsed him down as I peeled off the onishi. To this day I cannot believe that much poop came out of one small child. It appeared he had pooped everything he had eaten for the past several days, and possibly stuff he was going to eat over the next few. Oh poor little guy, you're a good grandparent. One dark day before the sprocket was potty trained, she came in, pantsless, and said, I go potty. Mommy, you went potty? Yes. I go a cat potty. Yep. Dropped trow and shat in the litter box. You never saw Tabby is so offended. You never saw Tabby is so offended. I almost fell down some stairs laughing at this. Sat down instead. Lol. Vomited breast milk in my mouth. I was changing my son's diaper when a few pieces of corn from his poops fell out mid-change. I picked them up with a baby wipe and put them in the diaper pail. I left my son in his room for a minute while I went to use the bathroom. When I came back I saw that he reached in his diaper pail and taken out the wipe that had the corn in it. The corn was nowhere to be seen. My only conclusion is that he ate it. My mom told me a story about me doing this, not my kid. My dad was on the phone while holding me as a baby. I think he was trying to calm me down or something. I guess it worked because I started giggling and took a giant banana slug diarrhea crap all over his work shirt. Friend was getting lotion put on as an infant and the dad wasn't paying attention. Rubbed crap baba lotion almost up to her hairline before the smell hit him. When I was younger I found a worm, showed my mum, then put it up my nose. Never found it after. Oldest child smeared poop all over her bedroom wall when she was tiny. Not quite 2, perhaps. Youngest child pooped on the bathroom floor and threw it in the garbage. What goes through your mind when you make that choice? To add to the grossness, when I asked who put poop in the garbage can, my husband said, "Are you sure it's not a candy bar?" I yelled, "I know the difference between chocolate and crap, Scott. This isn't Caddyshack." My 2-year-old is pretty independent. Likes to do crap herself. Fine by me. Little dude. "Daddy, I take off my diaper." "Sure, let's see." She threw it at me, you guys. She threw a poo diaper at me. The diaper had poo. She laughed. A lot. Used his boogers to adhere his posters to his bedroom wall. Nothing like scrapping dry boogers off the wall with a paint scraper when he moved out for college. Mr. Nastias. I'm impressed they held them up for so long. Colleague who sat next to me at work. I lived this incident with her. She has a 5-year-old daughter at school. She would put all the school uniforms in the wash on Friday afternoon and get it sorted ready for the next week. She kept finding when folding the school trousers after being through the washer and dryer that the pockets were filled full of gunk. She would end up having to scrape it out with her fingers, thinking it was a jelly baby or something. She kept forgetting to check the pockets before washing them, until she did. Her daughter had been putting worms into her pockets every day, and my colleague had been washing them on a 40°C wash and scraping out cooked worms with her fingers. So gross. When I was little, I kept putting small toads in my pockets because hey, I totally wanted a pet toad. They were cute. I was 4. My mom, thankfully, checked my pockets before she did the wash, but I still remember the shriek the first time she discovered one. My 5-year-old, on multiple occasions, has found chewed gum and put it in her mouth. 2 most recently were found under a table and off the ground a parking lot. My youngest, who was about 1.5 years old at the time, was playing in the sprinkler in the front yard. Noticed after about 15 minutes of play the back of her leg was covered in mud. Went to spray her off with the hose, only to realize it was actually liquid poop leaking out of her diaper. Then out the other leg hole a solidish turd rolled out. Another about my youngest. She's almost 3 now, and she's really resisting potty training. She has a tablet she is allowed to watch if she didn't have any accidents at daycare. She usually watches it while laying on her bed, snuggled with her blanket. I go in her room to let her know it's time for dinner, and as soon as I open the door the smell hits me. There is a giant crap on the rug in the middle of the room. My daughter is naked from the waist down, sitting on her bed watching the tablet. This child knew she had to poop, and knew she had to get her pants and undies off to do so. Took her clothes off, popped a squat right there on the floor, wiped herself with a baby wipe, and then carried on watching PBS Kids. The nerve. Son, aged 5 at the time, came to show me the awesome claws he'd just found. There were tampon applicators on his fingertips. I was mortified. At our house we call tampons whale parachutes, courtesy of the use discovered by my then 3-year-old. The other day he was eating fish sticks and Hershey's Kisses together. I was nursing my son, maybe 5 weeks old at the time, and sat him up so I could burp him. He proceeded to poop so hard that his diaper blew out the leg hole and up the back. He had poop from armpits to ankles. I had poop on my stomach and lap, and he got the nursing pillow for good measure. The onishi he had on went directly into the trash. There was no saving it. My clothes and the nursing pillow cover went straight into the washer. I'm sure that's just the beginning of our long, disgusting journey as mother and son, since he's 7 months old now and crawling everywhere. Crap in the tub. So far, when my daughter was a few weeks old, my GF was changing her and she sharted on my GF. That was pretty funny for me. Other than eating boogers, crapping in my yard, vomiting all over the car, or forcing me to know what meconium means, probably their weird but enjoyment of Roblox. Shudder. As a teacher of small humans, I have seen far too many of them pull out monster boogers and straight eat them. I gag every time. The wife and I refer to it as the poopy slip and slide incident. On vacation and the doctor, my then 2-year-old, was wearing a swim diaper. We came back from the pool and she took it off while I was hanging up her bathing suit and it was full of poop. Poop everywhere on the tile floor. She freaks out and runs toward me, sliding on her poop, slamming into the ground. I had to fish her up and wash her while checking for a concussion. It was disgusting. One morning I woke up into a nightmare. As I was walking down the hallway to get my son in the morning, a wave of fecal aromas greets even before I could even open the door, and I think to myself, whoa, gonna have to hold my breath for this one. I was unprepared for what awaited me. I opened the door and my son had apparently stored up a week's worth of protein, fiber and carbohydrates and converted it into a baby landslide of poo. It was such a big diaper that I guess it had started impeding him from having fun in his crib, so he started digging it out of his diaper to find relief. And since he already started digging it out, might as well put it somewhere, so he smeared it all over the walls, between the crib bars, everywhere he could jam his shitty covered hands. I just started screaming and picked him up and got him into the bathtub as far away from my core as possible, all while he's wiggling and giggling and still playing with his poo. I hosed him down as quickly as possible, got him dressed and took him to daycare as fast as possible, knowing that I had about 2 hours worth of scrubbing baby stool from all the nooks and crannies. It was everywhere. I had to use Brillo pads, bleach, old toothbrushes to get it out of the screw holes, Clorox disinfectant wipes. 2 hours later, I poured myself 8 ounces of whiskey and called it a day. One beautiful morning, I woke up before anyone in the house. It was so silent, I didn't bother putting clothes on and sat naked in the silence, admiring the refurbishment we had recently done on the toilet, having one of those shoots that you note in your diary. My beautiful serene moment was destroyed by my son, who kicked the door open, dong in hand, and just started pee everywhere. It turns out the tiles we'd used in the bathroom get quite slippery when wet, so I'm trying to get him onto the toilet while I've got the lit bum cigar hanging out of my ass, all the time sliding around on pee-soaked tiles which were now like a freaking ice rink. Fun times. My son has elected to purchase 4 straight season passes, multiple skins and even more dance moves on Fortnite BR. We tried to potty train when our daughter this month at 17 months, as she seemed to express interest in not being in soiled diapers, would rip them off after they were used. Day 1. Wife has the baby out of diapers and is putting her on the training toilet every 30 minutes. After one of these, my wife went to use the bathroom herself and came back to our daughter on her hands and knees drinking her own pee off the tile floor. Puts baby down for a nap, and she shoots herself. Takes it and rubs it all over herself. There has yet to be a day 2. I have to admire the implication of both resignation and aplomb on the part of your wife. Finds baby drinking pee from the floor like an animal. Welp, it's nap time, which also becomes poop dance in bedtime. Your wife sounds preternaturally calm through all of this. My son had just started to wipe himself after pooping. One evening I was in the bathroom brushing my daughter's teeth while he was on the toilet. He wiped himself a couple of times and then stuck his finger in his butt and wiped it on the roll of toilet paper to see if he was done. I asked him if that's how he usually checks if he is done wiping. He gave me a look and said, yeah, of course I do. How else would I do it like that? Was the dumbest question anyone could ask. 1-year-old girl. She doesn't digest blueberries. They come out whole. She also at least once a week shoots so violently that explodes out of the nappy and you need to change her entire outfit. Sometimes she's in a car seat in the back while we drive somewhere. We had been out shopping and were heading home. I heard the explosion. I could smell the cleanup that awaited me when we got back. We parked up 5 minutes later, went to get her out of the car. She was eating a blueberry and had crap all over her hand and face. My son got carsick once after eating way too many blueberry pancakes. Car seats are designed a lot like a bucket to hold a gallon of foul purple sludge with a toddler sitting in it. When my family friend was a little girl, she was petting the cat and came up to her mom and said, "Kitty butthole feel like rubber." So that was gross, and we've said this randomly to each other for literally decades since. My 6-year-old sometimes will choose to crap his pants so he doesn't have to stop having fun to use the bathroom. We're working on it. Anyway, I'm congested and can't smell at the moment. He was picking his butt after crapping himself and I hadn't noticed yet, because I couldn't smell it. Then he decided he wanted to touch the Xbox controller, the remote control, and his baby brother's face before finally coming over to me and asking if he could pat my head. I only smelled it on his fingers as he was patting my cheeks. Puked in my mouth, right down the esophagus. I got a stomach bug that same evening. Projectile diarrhea when my son was a baby and had a stomach bug. I was in the middle of changing his diaper and he sprayed me down with liquid feces that came out of his butt like it was coming out of a fire hose. At age 5, she smeared poop on the ceiling. She would have had to stand on the tallest part of her bed and reach on her tippy toes in order to do this. The effort alone put into the poop art was huge. She later admitted that she had a taste of it that day too. At age 10, when newly allowed to come home unsupervised after school but before I got home from work, I came home from work to discover my vuma in the hallway outside of her door. I threw it out after this discovery. My 7-year-old son peed in a water bottle the other week, left it on the kitchen side. No idea why. We were in the house and the toilet was empty. After hearing my 1-year-old babbling away after a good night's sleep, I go to fetch my dearly beloved cherub-like daughter and notice something slightly off. It's dark and I go to get her comforter and notice a foreign object in her cot. Confused, I turn on the light. She's managed to undo her vest, take off her nappy and created her own dirty protest. The cot bars are covered in crap, her hands slathered in it, and the telltale clue that some has made its way to her mouth. Gagging, I have to work out how to get this half-dressed poo monster to the shower. A great start to the day, I'm sure you'll agree. TLDR, eating their own excrement. I had my room upstairs when I was a kid. One night I was lazy and brought a Tupperware to bed, so if I had to pee at night I'd pee in that. Not only did I miss horribly every time in the pitch black, I never thought to empty it or clean it. Fast forward, I don't know how long, my mom rips apart my room cause it smells so bad and finds the calcified pee-filled Tupperware. It smelled so bad. I was so ashamed of myself. My youngest son got a flu. He got sick on his toy so he flushed it. We found this out later. We all got the flu that night. 2 children and 2 parents crapping and puking in the middle of the night into a toilet that would not flush. I realized, too late, and after many unsuccessful attempts to unclog the toilet, there was an obstruction stuck in the S-trap. I had to empty out the flu poo into a bucket so I could snake and grab whatever the heck was stuck. 4 inches of hard plastic Happy Smurf fricked my whole life for hours. Thank God for gloves and Mr. Clean. One kid had to puke while I was extracting the Smurf. I caught the puke in my hands. Then I also puked into the bucket of poo. I hate Smurfs. It was horrific. Ate dog poop. Twice. It was awful. My son has a booger wall. I moved his bed over one day and a Jackson Pollock inspired piece was revealed to me, in a plethora of snot and boogs. Nasty. When he was an infant, he covered the inside of his crib and himself from head to toe in poop. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.